Hey everyone, it's your favorite host Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. And today we are bringing to the stage a dynamic speaker. This man is speaking at PodFest this year, and he's going to be spilling not all the tea, some of the tea. He can't give away too much. He's going to be spilling some of the tea on a pod festival. You got to be there. If you are beginning a podcast, starting a podcast, wondering about a podcast, or a seasoned veteran in the podcast game, you won't want to miss this episode and miss who I'm about to bring to the stage. This is kind of a precursor to what he'll be talking about. But I got the man, the myth, the legend. We're going to be talking about something that we've been doing, you all have been doing with me along this journey, is podcasting. So stay tuned, stay with us. Here we go. You won't want to miss 1 second of the show. Welcome to the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. And today we have Coach Chris, the man, the myth, the legend himself. Mr. Chris Hines is a true veteran of the podcast industry, currently hosting the Business of Podcasting and the Personal Branding Playbook that he wrote himself. He literally wrote the book on podcasting. And you won't want to miss what this man has to say. You can always rely on Chris to give you the details and the rough need-to-know information that you need to know how to grow your podcast and how, most importantly, we're not doing this for free, right? How to make money in the podcasting game, right? That's the most important. That's why we're doing this, right? We want to get paid. So help me welcome to the stage the incredible, amazing Mr. Coach Chris. Welcome to the show, brother. How are you? Welcome to the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me. I love your intro, your whole setup. You're a pro, man. You are a pro at this. You got it on point.
I appreciate you. I'm trying. The goal is to be like you. Round of applause for Coach Chris. Sir, you are a veteran, a titan in this industry, man. You are killing the absolute game. And I just wanted to ask you live on the show here, what got you started? You have an incredible mind and you could do anything you set your heart to. Why podcasting?
So I was invited on the radio like years ago to talk basketball. At that point in time in my life, everything was basketball. Like I was playing in college and I was doing personal training. It was just my entire life. I was blogging about basketball. I thought that was my future. And when I went on the radio, I just had so much fun. I felt like I was at home. It just felt comfortable. And I didn't have any prep or anything. I just literally got invited on out of nowhere, did an incredible job. And people started asking me, well, what's the name of your podcast? And I'm like, I don't even know what that is. Like this was back in like 2015 before podcasting became as mainstream as it is now. So for me, it's just always felt comfortable and fun. And I love being able to communicate with people like yourself and do amazing interviews with people that are way smarter than me and just having those conversations, man. That's my favorite part personally.
That's true. That's true. That makes so much sense. And that's huge, right? Because it's an industry, it's media, right? I had to learn this. I just recently learned this, but we are in an industry of media and we are learning how to do this very well. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Apologize. So, one of the big things that people are learning how to do is branding themselves. When do you recommend someone begin to brand themselves in podcasting, if at all? Should they do it in the beginning? Should they do it in the end? When should someone work on their branding?
Well, I would say it's one of the most important things, and it's not something you should overcomplicate. In the beginning, it's best to just focus on solving a problem. That's the best thing you can do is solve one problem. When you become known for that, that's going to build your brand on top of itself. That's actually more important than the look and the colors and all of that stuff, because when you start solving problems and helping people, that's going to build your audience really, really fast.
That makes sense, and that makes sense. So, Bill, so you recommend doing it at the same time, almost, or not really?
I would say at the same time, I would say in the beginning, before you launch your show, before one episode comes out, you need to know what problem you're solving with your content. If you're a comedy podcast, you help people have fun and laugh or whatever it is. If you are into politics, you help people see their side of the argument, right? You want to make sure you're solving a problem and addressing a particular market, because that's the only way you can have a brand. That's what you become known for. That's how people can start to refer you. The branding part is just so important, man. Like before I made a logo for any show, I always think about the branding aspect and who I'm talking to.
That's true. That makes sense, and that's huge. What is so? So before logos, before branding, before any of that, focus on who you are and what you got going on, and focus on what the message is, right? What the core message is. Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, because if you make an amazing logo and you got this crazy good website and you do all this fancy stuff that looks good, but you can't help anybody, what purpose does it serve? Like the truth is, I've seen shows that have incredible logos. Like they spent $1,000, sometimes $5,000. And like, I'm not joking. Multiple people will come to me after spending $5,000 on a logo and they're like, wait, we're not making money on our show. And I'm like, well, who's the show for? And they say, well, anybody. That lets me know you didn't do your due diligence before you did anything like that. Focus on actually connecting with an audience first, and all the other stuff will figure itself out.
Makes sense. That's true. That's true. I told y'all, the man, the legend himself, Coach Chris. Mr. Chris, I have to beg the question. One of the things that has been a struggle, and you've definitely seen it, is some people get in the game because they think, oh, I have a following, people will support me. Well, is this true? Who are your biggest supporters in podcasts? Who supported you when you first got started?
Oh man, that's such a good question. I believe that you shouldn't be upset with your friends and family for not supporting you, even as an entrepreneur or as a podcaster, as a content creator, whatever. The people who are going to support you the most are the people that you help the most. That's simple. When I first started my podcast journey, as soon as I learned more than the beginner podcaster, once I got to like tier 2 or 3, I spent about 2 years at that point because I just was literally helping everybody that I could. As I was learning and developing myself as a podcaster, I helped podcasters every day. For 2 years straight, I did like free coaching calls nonstop. Every day I had 2 or 3 meetings to just answer questions that help people. And those are the people who turned out to be my biggest supporters. They bought the products and the books. They will come and see me speak. I had my own events and they even pull up to that. Like a dude drove from Arizona all the way to LA. We had an event right outside the Staples Center, and my boy drove from Arizona all the way to LA just to pull up to that event, to that workshop with me. And that's the person that's going to support you, is the person that you actually help the most. And I know we have this thing in our mind about getting paid what you're worth, but the truth is you aren't worth that much until you help people. That's just the truth.
That's facts. That is facts. That's some hard truth right there. And I think sometimes we get hurt, we get brokenhearted when family and friends don't support us. They don't want to support the business, they don't want to get involved, and we sometimes may even give up.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. You laugh because it's true. He's laughing because it's true, y'all.
I can tell you, when I first started podcasting, when I did that radio show, I had to go into the closet. I was in my mom's house and everything. I'm in the closet on my old little phone and I'm like literally talking into it on live. in the closet. I come out after like 45 minutes and everybody's like, what are you doing in the closet talking to yourself? I'm like, I'm on the radio. And again, that was in 2015. And I would say just now in 2022, now my mom finally understands what I'm doing in terms of podcasting. My brother understands, like now that it's mainstream, people get it. So looking for certain people to support you isn't something I think is healthy. It's better to focus on the people that do. Because while you paying attention to all the people that don't support you, there's a handful of people right there that are going to be the ones that help you get to the next level, but you got to put energy into them.
I'm so glad that you weren't doing what everybody else thought you were doing in that closet. So I'm sure your family was relieved to find out that all he's doing is podcasting. It's like, okay, he's not doing nothing else. He's pretty safe. Good, great. We have one quick commercial break. You guys don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Good day, podcast listeners. This is your boy, Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. I wanted to let you guys know that we will be rolling out a new feature and adding a join sponsor button next to the subscriber button here at the bottom of your screen. Once you click the button, it will display 3 membership levels. Gentleman Gentry, which is our entry level, Duke Duchess, which is our season level, and the Emperor and Empress, which is our most sophisticated level, which you will receive unique perks and benefits at each differing level and gain access to our community tab. We will also be sharing polls, upcoming events, and interviews, as well as receive feedback from our sponsors directly. Your support helps me find new and exciting guests to bring to the stage live. Well, in order to get the higher end speakers, it requires, you guessed it, money. So thank you for tuning in to my channel. And if becoming a sponsor sounds good to you, then select the join button below and choose your desired sponsor level. Let's continue to grow and serve the future of generations of men and women to come. Love you guys. Bye.
I'm Marcus Norman, bringing fresh vibes to hot topics surrounding culture, relationships, business, finance, sex, dating, faith, and everything in between. Whether you're into passive income opportunities, trending topics and useful relationship tips, or dynamic guest speakers, there's something for everyone. You can expect all that and more every week. If you're down with this content, then consider joining our growing community by subscribing to Gentleman Style Podcast and smash the bell to get on our VIP list. Your support means the world. Thanks for watching. Link to my channel.
We are back, and we have the incredible Coach, I almost call him Coach Carter, Coach Chris of the podcast. He's here on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show, and he's spilling all the podcast, well, not all the podcasts, some of the podcast tea today on the show. And he just spilled some valuable nuggets that, hey, it's okay. If you are on the fence and you're struggling, it is okay. Family and friends may not support you, and that's okay. You need to focus on the customer, the client, the person who is supporting you, and focus on producing quality just for them. And Coach Chris just broke that down. If you missed any of that, go back, scroll back, and check that out. Mr. Chris, sir, I want to ask some huge questions here, because a lot of us focus on downloads, right? I want to focus on downloads and how many downloads I need to get to a certain level. How many downloads, or you teach this, you coach this, how many downloads are needed to make a podcast actually profitable?
None.
What?
0. Again, it sounds crazy, but I've had maybe over 10 shows now that I've been able to launch that have made $5,000, $10,000 within their first month. That's it. You don't need any. The truth is, what you need to monetize your show is leverage, because there are really 3 main ways you can monetize your show. That's being an affiliate for a company, getting your show sponsored, or selling your own products and services. Those are the main 3 options that you have out there. Now, I always tell entertainment podcasters to focus on affiliate sponsorships, affiliate opportunities, and sponsorships. If you're in a business space, you create a lot of evergreen content, then you focus on more of your products and services. That's really the difference right there. When you're starting at the very beginning, you want to focus on the affiliate level. Every beginner podcaster should focus on promoting brands and services and all the products and stuff that your audience has interest in and that they use. Because if they're already paying for it and they already like it and they buy it and stuff, now they're just going to buy it again, but just through your link so you get paid. Simple. But if you have leverage, if you have 50,000 followers on Instagram, now you can use that as leverage to get sponsored before you launch your show. If you have 100,000 followers on Twitter that are engaged that you actually talk to, you can use that as leverage when you go to a sponsor. So when you go to get sponsored, it's not always about, oh, I have X amount of downloads, because that always doesn't translate into conversions. What you can do is combine your platforms. So instead of just presenting your podcast, now you have your podcast, but then your massive Instagram account, and you're going to promote the company on both. So now, because you had that podcast, it's bringing you more revenue. Whereas you usually would be just an influencer on Instagram, they get paid to post something. You can get paid 5 times over if you use your audio as well. Then if you throw in like YouTube, you can start getting paid for that as well. So it's just so many layers to it. There's no specific number that you need. You got to focus on leverage.
That is profound. And I want to expand on this a little bit more because you teach to this. I saw this recently. You talk about the difference in products. You said offer products and services tailored to your audience, which is important. Some people always start off right at the beginning. I want to offer t-shirts. I want to offer keychains, but that may not suit your audience. So tell us, because you teach us, you tell us, what is the difference between offering some people reach out to courses. I want to offer courses versus a masterclass. What's the difference, and why should I focus on one or the other?
Well, the first thing you should do as any content creator, ask your audience what they want. Because if your audience says, yeah, I want you to put your slogan on a t-shirt, then, I mean, they're going to buy the t-shirt. So then you're going to make t-shirts. Literally go and ask your audience what they want. I see too many podcasters immediately go to the course route because they think it's going to make them the most money. I will say, as somebody who sells courses, yes, courses will make you the most money, even in terms of the top level sponsorships. But the difference is the course isn't something you got to be ready for that. If you're going to spend weeks and months putting together a course, it takes a lot of energy and effort. You want to make sure you got people lined up to buy it. I say you want to talk to at least 25 of your listeners and see what they want, what they need help with, and then you go and make your products. And that goes for whatever product you want to make. If it's a t-shirt, if it's a coffee mug, if it's a hat, before you make anything, ask your audience what they want, because you don't want to put money and energy into making something that nobody's going to buy. And then here's a pro tip. After you talk to those people, I mean, literally get them on the phone and talk to them like real life. After you talk to them, keep their name and email, because when you go and make the product, now you go back to those same 25 people and then you give them the product at 50% off if they go and promote it. So now you've sold that product already before you made it, and now they're going to go and promote it so somebody else can buy it too. That's the process.
Woo-hoo-hoo! Nuggets galore. Sir, I want to get to the bread and butter. And thank you for joining us, Ms. Fallon. We love you and appreciate you here. She's a radio show host and podcaster herself. So thank you for being here. We appreciate you. And Miss Shalonda, we love you, girl. Sir, I want to ask the important question, the big question. How do I make money? What do I need to do to get to that level? Because it's hard, right? There are podcasters, and you've probably seen it. Some of their content is trash. And they're like, man, this ain't making money. What are we doing wrong? How do I make money with my show?
I would say, so we talked about finding the right people, but that right there is the most important part, because whatever you're selling, whatever problem you're solving, I don't care if it's a coffee mug, if you sell pencils, you got to have customers, right? So instead of trying to get more and more customers, focus on being the best you can be for those small customers you already have, right? So instead of going after another 1,000 customers, just focus on the 50 that you have. And then you can add on to that over time. Right. And I would say for every podcast is different, but the way I break it down is like this: entertainment podcasts are on this side. And these are shows that are about pop culture, music, movies, they're comedy, they're more so fun. On this side, you want to monetize through sponsorships and affiliate products and affiliate services. On this side, you got business podcasts, the shows that usually are run by somebody that has a company. Solopreneur, it could be an author with a book, a coach selling the course. You want to focus on selling your products. On both sides, the main thing you need to do is create an ad for your show. The same way you just ran your ad, which is greatly produced, by the way. I love it. That's how you make money. You present your product, your service, whatever it is on the show, as if it's extremely valuable. Even on the entertainment side, when you're just an affiliate, you present that brand like they're already a sponsor, because then you double back to that affiliate company and say, look, I've been presenting you on my show. Do you want to sponsor now? So you really want to take the presentation of your show seriously and make it a real platform.
Can't argue with that. Thank you for the compliment. Thank you for the compliment. I appreciate that. We work hard on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show, and I appreciate that nugget. So see, it's possible, y'all. It's possible. And Mr. Chris can share you and lay a plan, because you actually do that, right? You help businesses, podcasts make out a strategy plan to monetize their show, correct?
Yeah, when I work with podcasters now, I'm only helping them either set up that marketing plan that's going to grow their show or develop that monetization plan. And usually it goes backwards. Like, I can't tell you about marketing until you know about monetizing, because people don't care about the marketing until they realize how much money they're missing out on. Like, we break down a plan of how you make money from your show, and you start to realize, man, I could be making $3,000 this way. Then you're like, okay, well, how do I get more listeners so I can get to that $3,000 point? Right. So that's kind of how I work with podcasters, to develop something that works for them. But at the baseline level, there are only 4 or 5 ways you focus on monetizing your show. It's not a lot. You shouldn't be going crazy with it, trying to do all the fancy stuff. And you don't have to do everything. Focus on one way first, and then add a second income stream to it. That's it. So if you're building a membership community like Patreon or something, that's fine. But then you don't need to have a course and then a masterclass and then sponsors and then affiliates. You don't need to do all of them. Just have 2 and you'll make some good money.
Start small, y'all. That's what I'm hearing. Start small and work your way up. As you grow, the money will come. Stop trying to go for the big dollars. This is huge. Woo! Wasn't expecting this. Speaking of sponsors, we got to pay some bills, y'all. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Support for Gentleman Style Podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming champions of the world. Manscaped offers you precision engineering tools for your family jewels. Manscaped just launched their 4th generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, the 4.0. Join over 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off free worldwide shipping with the code GENSTYLE at manscaped.com.
Welcome back, everybody. We have the incredible Coach Chris spilling the tea on how to properly podcast and, more importantly, very importantly, make money on your podcast. So that, because again, it can be discouraging. You can get discouraged and you can get really, really down on yourself when friends and family and loved ones and people that you thought were close with you and your biggest advocates don't support. But there is money to be made here.
And you know the funny part? People start to support you more when you start making money. It's crazy. Like, when you get to that point where you start making money, like my first sponsor, I got paid $15 an episode to promote a company. And it was a basketball brand. And I loved it. I was excited. I was ecstatic because I'm getting paid to talk about basketball. And I realized that at that point, that's when I started getting more of an audience, more of a connection, more and more people around me started supporting me. So it's weird how the support doesn't come until you're successful in a way.
It's true. It's Very true. It comes after the fact because I think people want to prove the model, right? It's almost like multi-level marketing. They want to like, well, how are you making money? Or how much money are you making? Well, don't worry about that, man. It's like, well, I mean, you should worry about that. That's how you avoid scams, right? But yeah, focus on the customer, focus on your audience and serving them to the best of their ability. Just like you said earlier, ask your audience what they're looking for. Ask your audience how they want to support you, because they may not want to support you through Patreon or a subscription model, but they may want to support you with a keychain or a hat or a beanie, right? So ask your audience, the people who are focused on you. You said that incredibly well. Something that's come up recently is the new, I think media really expanded during COVID-19 pandemic, and Disney and Netflix and all these media production companies blew up. Roku blew up during the pandemic. How do you thrive as a podcaster in a pandemic? And should I be reaching out to television networks to promote my podcast? Is that something that I should be looking into?
You know, it works if you do. Roku is one of the brands that actually works with a lot of podcasters. I've met some hosts who have their show on there. Like they'll literally take the whole episode and put it on TV. Like it's incredible. I would say most podcasters aren't ready for that. Most podcasters don't have their production style down just yet, their episode flow, their promotion strategy. Like before you go to the big dogs to be on TV or even the big sponsors, you want to make sure you're prepared for that. You have to have your foundation for your show set up, not perfectly, but set up very well. And it has to be a well presentation. Like, and I call this just going from having a regular podcast to a real platform. You know, when you have a podcast, you just do episodes randomly. You don't really take it that serious. There's no structure to it. Your audience doesn't really know what to expect. But when you are hosting a platform and you got a show over here that's like the professional style and it's a big deal, you take it more seriously. So I don't think most podcasters are prepared to go at that level. I would say most podcasters should be focused on finding one social platform to thrive on first. Instead of trying to promote on Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook, find one, just one, and be consistent with that one. I started on Twitter. That's been my main platform for years, and I don't use as much as I used to. I'm actually blowing up and using Instagram now, but Twitter was a great way for me to build my podcast. That's how I grew my show. That's why the Personal Branding Playbook is in the top 1% of podcasts in the world, because I use Twitter so much. So I wouldn't say go to TV just yet. Like focus on your foundation first and then go to the TV stuff.
Makes sense. Focus on getting this right. The bag, the small, simple things, the core thing, like you said, because we're not ready for that. Most of us aren't ready for that yet. It looks good, right? And so like that was one of my things is when I was approached by 2 television networks and they liked the show. But well, number one, they didn't offer money. They didn't offer enough money, right? And they just wanted, but I thought about it from the aspect, okay, there's no monetary gain. Do I still go for the publicity? Right? The advertising. And that was my conflict for a little bit, even though there was no money there. And so is that a benefit? Is that something to take into consideration? If I have a network, or if you're approached by Manscaped says, listen, we won't pay you, but we'll give you access to our email subscriber base. Is there value there to take into consideration?
Now, if you're getting access to emails like that, then I would say yes, because there are some really good email strategies I've used like that work. Like emails they're so valuable. Podcasters have no idea how valuable emails are. Like think about it like this. If I have a problem with marketing my business and I have not run Facebook ads, but I want to, and I receive an email like with a podcast episode linked inside an email, and the headline says a reason why your Facebook ads aren't working. That's an incredibly timed email. That's going to be super valuable to me and what I'm doing. So when you have somebody's email, that's valuable. I would say that's useful. But if they don't want to pay you, that's because you don't have enough leverage. Like we talked about, leverage is super important. The only way to get these companies to pay you, because they have the money, BetterHelp, so many, HelloFresh, all the VPN services. They literally spend over $1 million a month on podcast advertising. I know because I get email about this stuff every single month. I know what the numbers are. Like, it's $1 billion industry now. So if you can't go to a company and ask for $10,000, then you don't have enough leverage to be in that conversation just yet. You want to build that up over time. And it's not just about growing your show and getting downloads. You build leverage by having a bigger following, by having a bigger community, growing your email list. All of that is valuable. What I do is I package all of that together, and that's how I get the sponsorships. So I've been able to get like massive deals for like 8 to 10 podcasts at a time for shows I wasn't even on. I just was able to get the deal done because I know how to package it. Okay, this is what we're going to give you for this, and then we can work well together. So you want to build leverage first. That's so important, man. But if they're giving you emails, you always take the emails. Those are valuable.
Take the emails. Take the emails, y'all. What are some core things? You mentioned packaging, making sure you're packaging. What are some other tips that podcasters need to know in order to find potential sponsors for their show?
One thing you gotta understand is it's a numbers game. In the beginning, like it's the hardest time because you're trying to get the first one. When I got my first sponsor, I had to literally list out 500 companies, and I still had this list. I show it to my clients all the time. And when you reach out to those companies, that's going to determine, what you can get, right? Now, out of the 500, there are different categories. We got the big boy sponsors. That should be maybe 50 to 75 of your list are the bigger companies like Apple and Nike and Google. The ones that you probably won't get if you're honest with yourself, but you always want to reach out to them, because you never know what'll happen. You want to have a lot of those companies. Then you want to have what I call the main companies. And these are the brands that are already sponsoring shows that are in your niche. So you should be listening to podcasts that are above you on the charts, that are in your market, your industry, not only to have their host on your show as a guest to grow your show, but also to see what sponsors they're working with. Because if they're sponsoring them for 5 to 10 grand a month, you could probably get it too, right? Because they're already sponsoring a show in your market or your niche. Then you have the smaller sponsor area, which is like small businesses and smaller companies. That's where a lot of podcasters can find their sponsorship deals. Like, you can connect with a company and say, look, you're a small business, I'm a small podcast, let's grow together, right? For $20 a pre-roll, you can sponsor 5 of my episodes. That's $100. Simple. Now, it's not a lot. You're not going to make $10,000, but that first 100, I'm telling you, something changes when you make that first sponsorship deal, man. When you sign that contract, it just changes you as a creator. Then you realize it's possible. So categorize the sponsors and then start your outreach process.
Makes sense. That makes sense. That's huge. That's huge. And you're right. That first sponsor is like, I can't believe it.
Yeah.
You're really going to pay me to be a sponsor of my show? Oh my God. I can't thank you enough. And it's true. It does change the game. And for me, it let me know that I need to transition from this is just a hobby to actually a business. Like, this is no kidding business now.
Man, I run into so many podcasters like at Podfest and stuff or on Facebook. They always tell me, oh, I don't care about making money. I don't want to get sponsored. I'm like, all right, cool. And then 5 minutes later, they're like, wait, so-and-so made how much from their show? Like, people tell themselves they don't want to make money because they aren't. But the truth is, it's easier than you think. The first time is just a really hard time. That first sponsor I got, they paid me $15 an episode. About 4 months later, they were sponsoring 10 shows that I was a part of. 10 shows that I was producing was now working with the sponsor I got for $15. If I had said, well, you have to pay me $50 an episode, we would have never built that relationship. So sometimes you do have to start really small to get to the big part.
So true. So true. Mr. Chris, what would you say to that young boy, that young girl in the audience who's on the fence about starting their podcast, or they've started their podcast and their back is against the wall. They're feeling defeated and they really just want to give up on podcasting altogether. Any nuggets that you've dropped? A bunch of nuggets this episode. Any final nuggets?
Oh man, don't quit. When I first started my show, I had an old computer. It was a MacBook that was like 10 years old and it was terrible. And I remember it just burning out on me one day. It shut down, never turned back on. I lost like 12 episodes. And this was incredible content because I had picked up speed. This was like my second or third month in podcasting. I had gotten my first sponsor. and I was interviewing NBA players. So you can imagine that was some great content that I had. And my computer burned out and I lost it. I'm still not over it. So trust me, you can get through whatever the hard time is. Just focus on the way that you're going to monetize your show. And that's going to make it easier. I'm telling you, once you start bringing in the money, you see you're getting something out of it. And in fact, don't look at what you've done as a waste of time, because you've actually been learning a lot. You haven't gotten paid for it yet, but it is coming. If you give up, you'll never get there. Stick with the process.
So true. Coach Chris, how can we connect with you? How can we learn more? How can we continue to grow with you?
Well, my book, The Business of Podcasting, will be released May 28th. I'll be speaking at Podfest as well. As you said, I'll be on stage like 3 times an entire weekend. So if you're in Orlando, you're at Podfest, you'll be able to find me. Trust me. But if not, find me on Twitter or Instagram at Chris Podcasting. Send me a DM. Let me know you listen to the show. I got master classes for you to help you market your show. I'll even help you monetize. If you want one of those marketing plans or monetization plans, just shoot me a message and we can go from there.
Love it. Love it. Check him out. Coach Chris spilling all the podcasting tea. Absolutely. Absolutely. Chris, I want to say thank you. We got to let him go. He has to run. He has more sponsorships to get. But brother, I appreciate you. And I want to say this to you publicly. Thank you for taking time to be here today. Thank you for giving back in this way. It is absolutely phenomenal what you're doing, brother. I appreciate it.
Man, thank you for having me again. I love this show setup. You a pro, man. You're going to be right at the top. I'm telling you, I know it's happening for you because you put in the work right now. This is the work. Looks incredible. One of the best I have ever seen. And I'm not joking you. Great work, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, brother. That means a lot. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you all, my audience, for tuning into the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. I hope this message helps you all who are on the fence about your podcast, or your podcast isn't doing so well or is not making money yet. Don't quit. Don't give up. You heard it from Coach Carter, Chris Nugget. Chrissy Chris said it today. He spilled the tea. If you want to learn more, connect with him. Connect on Instagram or Twitter. He also has a website for my auditory listeners. That's thecoachchris.com. I hope this message serves you all. I want to say this to you all publicly. Thank you for tuning in. I love you guys so much for tuning into the show. You guys are a dynamic audience, and I hope this helps. And if you ever need to get in connection with Chris, if you missed anything we said today, contact me and I'll get you in touch with him. Love you guys. Bye.